The year was 2479. Earth, once a single, fragmented entity, was now unified under the banner of the Earth Federation. A vast technological empire spread across the globe, with towering cities and a society that had reached the zenith of space exploration. Earth's military might had grown beyond anyone's wildest imagination. Yet, for all its progress, an unsettling quiet lingered. The threat of invasion had been dismissed as a relic of the past, a relic they had outgrown. But that quiet, as they would soon learn, was a harbinger. Inside the darkened command center of Orbital Command, Captain Ava Stark studied the holographic displays in front of her, her fingers absent-mindedly tapping against the console. The lights from the display reflected off her tense face, casting sharp shadows in the otherwise sterile room. Ava, now 32, had served the Earth Federation for most of her adult life. As the leader of the elite space defense unit, she had seen it all: skirmishes in the asteroid belt, battles with rogue factions, and endless political maneuvering. But this was different. Her sharp, piercing eyes traced the information streaming in from Earth's farthest satellites. A strange set of encrypted signals had been detected from beyond the Oort cloud. They were too organized, too deliberate to be random cosmic radiation. Someone, or something, was sending them. Ava's fingers paused above the console. She had always prided herself on being prepared for any threat. The Earth Federation had prepared for every eventuality. Their space fleet had the most advanced technology in the galaxy, their planetary defenses unrivaled, their weapons destructive. Yet, as she re-examined the data, the feeling of unease in her gut grew. She'd never felt so exposed. "Captain Stark!" A voice broke through her thoughts. It was Lieutenant Davis, her right-hand officer. "You need to see this." Ava turned and saw Davis standing near the large communications console, a worried expression etched on his face. The lieutenant, young and capable, had been a rising star in the Earth Federation. He was the type of officer who never flinched, never hesitated. But there was something in his eyes now that made her heart skip a beat. "What is it, Davis?" she asked, her voice steady despite the storm brewing in her chest. He handed her a tablet, the screen flashing a set of strange symbols she couldn't immediately decipher. Her heart sank. "I think it's an invasion warning," Davis said, his voice low. "But not from any of the known galactic factions. This is something else." Ava's mind raced. The Galactic Empire had been the only real power capable of a full-scale invasion, but their reach was far. They hadn't threatened Earth in over a century. Had something changed? She stared at the symbols, narrowing her gaze. It wasn't just the structure that was off, it was the source. These signals were coming from a point in space too distant, too remote. But then, they had always known the Empire had eyes on Earth. Why hadn't they detected anything earlier? Why was it now, out of nowhere? "Davis," she said, her voice calm but firm. "Get me the Federation's decryption specialists. Now." As Davis relayed the order, Ava returned her gaze to the main holographic display. A cluster of ships was converging toward Earth's space station. Her heart tightened. If this was the beginning of something truly catastrophic, there wasn't much time. She needed answers, and she needed them fast. A few moments later, a tense silence hung in the room. The decryption team had failed to make any headway. They were lost, stuck in an unbreakable loop of alien coding. Ava's fingers drummed on the table, frustration mounting. She couldn't let this go. Not when Earth's safety was at stake. "I need to speak with General Harland," Ava said, her voice laced with authority. Now. Minutes later, she stood on a secure link with General Harland, one of Earth's top strategists. His face was lined with worry, his uniform impeccable as ever, but the tension in his shoulders was impossible to miss. "Ava," Harland's voice crackled through the comms. "We've been monitoring the situation here. The signals are coming in waves. Whatever it is, they know we're here. And they're close." Ava clenched her jaw. "Any word from the outer stations?" Harland's face darkened. "Nothing yet. But it's not good, Captain. We don't have enough time to mobilize our fleet fully. If we don't get this under control, we're looking at a full-scale war. The reality of the situation hit Ava like a punch to the gut. What are the odds we can survive if this is an Empire invasion? Harland hesitated before answering. Slim. They have the firepower, Ava. More than anything we've ever faced. Ava turned away, her mind racing. She had always been prepared for battle, for victory, for any kind of confrontation. But nothing in her training had prepared her for the existential weight of an invasion from a galactic power. She was staring into the abyss, and there was no retreat. I'm not giving up, Harland, she said, her voice fierce. We'll hold them off. We'll find a way. Send word to the fleet. I want every ship ready for immediate deployment. And tell our allies to prepare as well. Harland's gaze softened for a moment. Understood. You've always led with conviction, Ava. Don't lose that now. As the link disconnected, Ava felt a surge of determination. Earth had faced challenges before. This, however, was different. This was an enemy from beyond the stars, one with technology beyond anything Earth had ever dreamed of. Yet Ava knew one thing above all: humanity's greatest strength had always been its resilience. That, she believed, would be their weapon against the impossible. Suddenly, a soft chime broke the silence. The data feed had changed. Ava turned to see that the signal had shifted. The coordinates were no longer unknown. They were locked on Earth's most vulnerable spots. Earth is their target, she whispered to herself. With grim resolve, she addressed her team. Prepare yourselves. We are going to war. The chapter ends with the first transmission of an Imperial warship, a haunting reminder of the storm that was coming. The silence after the warning was deafening. Ava Stark stood at the edge of the command center's vast observation deck, staring out at the rotating blue marble that was Earth. The hum of machinery, the low murmur of conversations, and the occasional command being relayed felt far too distant to her. The calm before the storm. A storm she knew was coming faster than they could prepare for. 2 hours had passed since the first encrypted signals were decrypted. The news was grim. The Galactic Empire was on the move, its fleets already crossing the boundaries of Earth's outer defense zones. No longer was this a theoretical threat, it was real. The pieces were in motion, and the first wave of Imperial ships had entered Earth's gravitational pull. Ava's mind raced. How could they have underestimated the Empire's approach? She turned to Lieutenant Davis, who stood at a nearby console, his face ashen. Lieutenant, Ava said, her voice tight with urgency. Where's our fleet? They're mobilizing, Captain, Davis replied, his fingers dancing across his console. But it's too slow. The Empire is already here, and our ships are still in their staging positions. Ava's jaw clenched. Time was not a luxury they could afford. The Federation's space fleet, though formidable, was not yet prepared for an assault of this magnitude. The Empire's ships, massive, heavily armed, and fast, were already entering Earth's space lanes. We've got 20 minutes at best, Davis added, his eyes locking with hers. After that, they'll be within striking distance of Earth. Get me General Harland, Ava ordered, turning back to the command center's main display. A strategic map of Earth's defense zones blinked, showing the Empire's fleet rapidly approaching. There were too many of them. The connection was established within seconds. General Harland appeared on the screen, his expression grim. The Federation's general was a man of few words, but Ava could read him as clearly as a book. Harland, Ava said, cutting to the point. What's the status of the fleet? Harland's eyes narrowed. We've got 3 heavy cruisers on standby, but the rest of our ships are spread thin across the outer stations. If we're going to defend Earth, we need to call in reinforcements. Ava inhaled sharply. Do we have the time to wait for reinforcements? Not likely, Captain. The Empire is closing in fast. She looked at the screen again. The enemy fleet had emerged from hyperspace, now clearly visible on Earth's long-range scanners. They were organized, methodical. This was no random skirmish. The Empire had come to crush Earth. Prepare for immediate deployment, Ava commanded. Send out all available interceptors. I want the Federation's fleet to engage as soon as possible. We're going to delay them long enough for the rest of our forces to get into position. Aye, Captain, Harland replied. The link cut off. As the call ended, Ava's team went into motion. Officers and soldiers moved quickly, coordinating the Federation's counter-response. Ava stood at the center of it all, her mind sharp, her hands steady. She'd been through skirmishes before, but nothing like this. The Empire was not like anything humanity had ever encountered. They were ruthless, calculating, and had weapons far more advanced than anything Earth had ever seen. We can't win this fight, Davis said quietly, watching the enemy ships swarm toward them. Not with the forces we have. Ava met his gaze, her face unwavering. We don't need to win. We just need to survive. Long enough for reinforcements to arrive. And long enough to prove that Earth is not to be trifled with. Moments later, the first barrage of enemy fire lit up the sky. The Imperial ships unleashed their devastating weapons, massive beams of energy that tore through the vacuum of space, each blast a reminder of the sheer power of the Empire. Defensive shields up! Ava barked, her voice commanding. Get our ships moving! The Federation's interceptors, small and agile, darted into the fray, engaging the enemy's ships in a high-speed battle. The first exchange of fire was chaotic. Explosions ripped through the blackness of space, and the fleet moved in a deadly ballet of maneuvering and counterattacks. Yet, despite the Federation's best efforts, the Empire's ships were relentless. Their energy shields absorbed every shot, their weapons cutting through the Federation's defenses with terrifying ease. Ava watched the battle unfold from the command center, her hands gripping the edge of the console as if it could anchor her to reality. She had expected casualties, she had expected losses, but the scope of the devastation was unlike anything she had imagined. Captain, one of our heavy cruisers is down! Davis shouted, panic creeping into his voice. They're firing on Earth's capital. New Haven is under attack. Ava's heart skipped a beat. New Haven was the nerve center of the Federation, its population in the billions, home to both military and civilian leadership. If the Empire targeted New Haven, the war could be over before it even began. Coordinate with the planetary defense forces, she ordered. Divert all firepower to intercept any incoming shots. We cannot afford to lose New Haven. As the command center scrambled, Ava's mind raced. The Federation fleet was crumbling. They were outmatched, outgunned, and outmaneuvered. But they weren't out of options. Earth was a planet of survivors. The Empire's mistake had been thinking they could crush humanity so easily. Ava turned to Davis, her face set with determination. Activate the prototype. Now. Davis's eyes widened. Captain, are you sure? That weapon, it's untested. It's our only shot, Ava said, her voice cold with resolve. If the Empire wants to take Earth, they'll have to do it over our dead bodies. Moments later, the command center's systems hummed to life. The prototype, a high-powered experimental weapon capable of firing energy beams that could disrupt even the most powerful Imperial shields, was ready for activation. Ava gave the final command. Fire! The beam shot out, piercing the dark void of space like a spear. It struck an Imperial destroyer with brutal precision, and for a moment, it looked as if the ship might survive. But then, the weapon's full power detonated, tearing through the destroyer's shield and sending it into a violent spiral. The first real blow to the Empire. They felt that, Davis said, his voice filled with awe. Ava nodded, her gaze fixed on the battlefield. It's not over yet. We've just begun. The first strike had been launched, and despite the staggering odds, Earth's resistance was far from finished. The Empire had made its move, but Ava was ready to show them why they had made a fatal mistake in underestimating humanity. The war for Earth had only just begun. The Empire's first strike had shattered the calm, but Earth had fought back with the ferocity of a cornered animal. Captain Ava Stark stood once again at the observation deck of Orbital Command, but this time, the hum of activity was different. There was a purpose in every movement, every click of a console, Every order barked into the comms system. The Federation's forces had regrouped, had become something more than a military. They were now humanity's last hope. Ava's eyes never left the flickering holographic map in front of her. The battle had shifted. The first devastating blow they struck against the Empire's flagship was only the beginning. The Empire had underestimated Earth's resolve, and now they were realizing their mistake. "Captain, you need to see this." Lieutenant Davis's voice broke through the tension. His face was grim, his normally calm demeanor now replaced with the look of a man who had just seen a ghost. Ava turned, her brow furrowing. "What is it?" Davis handed her a data tablet, and the moment her eyes scanned the incoming intel, she knew exactly what he meant. The Empire had launched a second wave, larger than the first. The fleet was assembling for a full-scale planetary assault. They had learned nothing from their initial engagement. The Empire's arrogance was their greatest weapon. "They're coming in hot," Ava muttered, feeling the weight of the moment press against her chest. "How long until they arrive?" 2 hours, maybe less," Davis said, eyes wide. "And Captain, we've lost contact with 2 of our heavy cruisers. They've gone dark." Ava's stomach clenched. The Federation's ships were dwindling, and the Empire's might seemed limitless. But Earth's greatest strength wasn't its military or its weapons, it was its ability to adapt. And adapt they would. Ava tapped into the main comms. "General Harland, report," she demanded, her voice sharp as a blade. The screen flickered, and Harland's worn face appeared, his uniform smudged with the remnants of battle. But his eyes were still determined, full of that hard-edged resolve that had kept the Federation alive for centuries. "We've done what we can with what we've got," Harland said, his tone heavy with the weight of defeat. "But the Empire's reinforcements are overwhelming. We can't keep this up forever." Ava's gaze never wavered. "Then we don't fight forever. We fight now, and we make it count." Harland's expression softened, a glint of admiration flashing in his eyes. "Understood, Captain? But we need more time. If we can't slow them down, there won't be any Earth left to defend." Time. Ava's mind raced, searching for a solution. Earth's fleet was running low on ammunition, their fighters were outnumbered, and their position was becoming more precarious by the second. But Earth still had one card to play, the Ark. The Ark had been a forgotten relic from Earth's pre-space age, a battleship too powerful, too dangerous for its time. It had been hidden away in deep orbit, lost to history until Ava's team had stumbled upon it. The Ark was humanity's last trump card. The only question now was whether it was enough. "Ava, if you're thinking what I think you're thinking, it's too risky," Davis said, his voice hesitant. "I know," she replied, her fingers tightening on the edge of the console. "But it's our only chance. Get me the Ark's command codes." Davis paused before complying, his fingers flying across the console. The Ark, an ancient warship with technology that surpassed even the most advanced Federation fleet, was ready for reactivation. It was Earth's final line of defense. The holomap flickered, showing the approaching Imperial fleet. Ava's heart skipped a beat. This was it. No more waiting. No more second chances. "Ark, this is Captain Ava Stark of the Earth Federation," she said into the comms. "You are authorized to engage. Full weapon systems, all power to engines. We need you now." For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, with a mechanical groan, the Ark's systems flickered to life. The massive warship, long dormant, roared back into action. Its energy shields flared, and its immense weapon systems powered up. "Ava," Davis said, his voice full of disbelief. It's working. The Ark is online." Ava smiled grimly. "Let's show them why they made a fatal mistake." The Ark's engines roared to life, propelling it forward with unimaginable speed. Ava's heart raced as the massive warship emerged from the shadows of Earth's orbital station, its guns primed and ready. "Target the Imperial fleet's lead ships," she ordered. "I want every weapon online. Full power." The Ark surged forward, cutting through the vacuum of space. The Empire's fleet, confident in its numbers, barely seemed to react as the first volley of weapons from the Ark struck. Massive beams of energy tore through the Empire's flagship, shields flaring before they failed completely. The ship exploded in a ball of fire, a blinding flare that sent shockwaves across the battlefield. Direct hit, Davis breathed, watching the explosion light up the dark void. The Empire's fleet seemed to hesitate for a moment. It was the first real sign of vulnerability they had shown. But it was enough. Earth's forces, emboldened by the Ark's sudden return, pushed forward with renewed determination. "We're not done yet," Ava said, her voice colder than ever. "Engage with everything we've got. This is humanity's fight." The battle raged on, the Ark cutting a deadly swath through the Empire's forces. Its weapons were unlike anything the Imperial fleet had ever encountered, precise, devastating, and relentless. The Empire's ships, once so confident in their superiority, began to fall one by one. Ava's command was precise, every move calculated, as if she knew instinctively how to make every shot count. But as the battle continued, her heart couldn't help but sink. The victory, though sweet, came at a steep cost. Earth's fleet was on the brink of collapse. The Ark could only hold the line for so long. Then, a voice crackled through the comms. "Captain, we've detected a massive Imperial fleet, much larger than we anticipated. They've arrived." Ava's face hardened. "We're not done." "Not yet." Her hands gripped the console, and she issued the final command. "Prepare for the last stand," she said. "Earth doesn't surrender. Not now. Not ever." The Ark, the Federation's last hope, moved into position as the second wave of the Empire's reinforcements approached. The real battle was just beginning, and Ava Stark wasn't about to let Earth go down without a fight. The fate of humanity rested in their hands. The stakes had never been higher. And Ava had no intention of letting the Empire win. The battle had raged for hours, the vast void of space now filled with the remnants of destroyed ships, their glowing wreckage a testament to the fury of humanity's resistance. Captain Ava Stark stood on the bridge of the Ark, her eyes scanning the destruction unfolding across the battlefield. Her heart pounded in her chest as her hands gripped the command console, the weight of command heavier than ever. "Ava, they're bringing in their final assault." Davis's voice cut through the tension. "This is it. We can't hold them off much longer." Ava's gaze shifted to the tactical display. The second wave of the Imperial fleet had arrived, dozens of ships, all bristling with weaponry. They were powerful, imposing, and they were closing in on Earth's last line of defense. But Earth wasn't finished yet. Ava had no intention of surrendering, not when so many had already fallen. Not when humanity's future was hanging in the balance. "Get me General Harland," Ava said, her voice steady, betraying no hint of fear. She had faced overwhelming odds before. This was just another challenge, another fight that needed to be won. Within moments, the hollow communication link flickered, and Harland's face appeared. He looked as tired as Ava felt, but there was still fire in his eyes. "We're not giving up, Ava," Harland said, his voice resolute. "Our forces are dwindling, but we've got something they don't. We've got Earth on our side." Ava nodded grimly. "We need to hit them hard, Harland. I want every available ship to target the Empire's command fleet. No mercy." "We'll do our best," Harland replied. "But we can't promise victory." Ava's lips tightened, the weight of the situation settling in. Earth's forces were outnumbered and outgunned, but they weren't going to roll over. "Not today. Not ever." "Then we make our stand here," she said, her voice filled with the strength of her conviction. "We show them what humanity is capable of." She cut the link, turning her attention back to the battlefield. The Ark's weapons were primed and ready, but Ava knew the odds were insurmountable. Earth's fleet was in tatters, and even with the Ark's firepower, they couldn't hold out forever. The second wave was relentless, and they had more ships on the way. But Ava refused to believe that this was the end. "Captain," Davis called from the tactical station. "The Empire's flagships are coming into range. We have one shot at this. Lock onto their lead ships," Ava ordered, her voice sharp. Fire everything we've got! The Ark's guns roared to life. Massive energy beams shot across space, each one aimed with deadly precision. The lead Imperial ships exploded in a burst of light, their shields no match for the Ark's devastating firepower. The explosion rocked the battlefield, sending shockwaves through the void. We've got their attention, Davis said, a hint of relief in his voice. But they're not backing down. Of course they're not, Ava replied, her eyes hard. The Empire doesn't know how to lose. But Ava had learned something in the past few hours. Humanity was different. They fought for survival, for each other, for their future. And it was that fighting spirit that would make all the difference. Captain, Davis said, his voice trembling. The Empire's flagship, Varker's ship, it's charging its main weapon. They're targeting Earth. Ava's heart skipped a beat. How long do we have? Not long, Davis said. A minute, maybe less. Then we don't wait, Ava said, her voice steady. Prepare the Ark for a full assault. Target their flagship's power core. The crew worked quickly, their movements fluid, synchronized. The Ark's massive guns aimed, charging with deadly precision. Ava knew this was their only chance to take down the Empire's flagship, and Varker himself. If they failed now, Earth would be lost. The countdown to the Empire's weapon began, the blinding energy pulses gathering on the flagship's main cannon. Ava's hands clenched into fists, the pressure of the moment weighing heavily on her. But she refused to let fear control her. Now! She shouted. The Ark's weapons fired, the full force of humanity's final strike tearing through space. The energy beams slammed into the Imperial flagship, shaking the very fabric of space around them. The flagship's shields buckled under the force, and for a moment, it seemed like they might hold. But then, the power core exploded, a massive burst of light and energy that consumed the flagship in an instant. The Imperial fleet faltered, its coordinated assault thrown into chaos as their command ship was destroyed. Varker's flagship, the symbol of the Empire's might, was no more. We've done it! Davis exclaimed, his voice full of disbelief. We've actually done it! Ava's heart skipped a beat as the battlefield went eerily silent. The Empire's fleet, without leadership, began to disintegrate. Their ships turned and fled, no longer willing to face the overwhelming force of Earth's final stand. But Ava's eyes didn't leave the view of the destruction. She knew this wasn't truly over. There would be more battles, more struggles. But for now, Earth had won. Humanity had proven its worth. They had fought back against the might of the Empire, and had shown the galaxy that Earth would never bow down. Captain, Davis said softly, his voice filled with awe. We did it. We actually did it. Ava nodded, but the smile that touched her lips was fleeting. There was too much work ahead, too many questions left unanswered. The war was over, but the fight for Earth's future had just begun. We've won today, Ava said, her voice quiet but firm. But this is only the beginning. The galaxy will know that Earth is not to be underestimated. As the Ark hovered in the wake of the shattered Empire, Ava stood tall, knowing that humanity had proven something far more important than their ability to fight. They had proven that they could survive. And that, above all else, was why Earth would always stand strong. The final stand had been made, and humanity had emerged victorious.